Ankur, when were you exposed to his music?
I mean, good question. It feels like I've been listening to his music for a long time, and I've almost forgotten where I heard his music first.
Well, Nikhil used to come bounce in and out of his many international tours and say, these are my songs, these are my songs, these are my songs. And I used to love his music. And he said, at one point he came up with something and I said, well, it's nice melodically, but it's not very good lyrically. And so he said, well, you bloody write it then. And then he slammed the door and left.
Hello, wherever you are, drive safely and get set for an hour of some great sublime conversation as well as music. One of my favorite people, Ankur Tewari, is here. Brother man, how are you? Good to see you.
That was me clapping for me.
I haven't seen you since the showcase for City Sessions, which we will talk about. But one thing I do want to know is, how did the US tour go?
US tour was a lot of fun. There were 8 cities, 2 new cities that we had not played in before, and playing in America at a time like it was quite crazy, strange, amazing.
Lovely. We'll circle back to that conversation later. As you know, Ankur Tewari is one of India's finest singer-songwriters, music curator, music composer, and his project, which is called City Sessions with Tiger Baby Records, which is his and Zoya Akhtar and Reema Kakti's baby, has spawned some incredible music. And 2 songs we've been playing on 94.3 Radio 1. They are from Slight Diversion, aka Pushan Kripalani. Ankur's been on the show many, many times. This is Pushan's debut on the show, so big round of applause. Hi, Pushan.
Oh, hi, and welcome, Hrishi, to your own show.
I want to start at the genesis of Slight Diversion.
Okay.
For those of you who are living under a rock, there are 18 songs which are already out on all streaming services. We play about 4 or 5 of them depending on music manager Kobart Mobojina's mood. But what I can promise you is the 2 new songs which are on the City Sessions EP will play for an entire month. We've already started playing them as of last week with a nice voiceover on both songs in which Pushan talks about those songs. So I understand that the first EP was called Borrowed Guitars.
That's right.
But you want to pay cognizance to the fact that Nikhil D'Souza and Kenneth Basumatari were an important part of the beginning of Slight Diversion.
Essential, I'd say. Well, Nikhil used to come bounce in and out of his many international tours and say, these are my songs, these are my songs, these are my songs. And I used to love his music. And he said, at one point he came up with something and I said, well, it's nice melodically, but it's not very good lyrically. And so he said, well, you bloody write it then. And then he slammed the door and left. So I took a day and I wrote a lyric and he says, well, that's not too bad. Do you have any? And he brought me into a studio to record that very thing when he was recording it and sending it off to Warner Brothers at the time. And after he'd finished his session in the studio, and he's a real pro, so he was done in about 15 minutes with this thing, including backing vocals. He said, do you have anything else? And I was like, well, no, not really. So Kenny and he put me in the studio and they started kind of directing me to do things. At the end of it, they said, you have 5 ideas. Do you know this? And I said, I have no idea. So he said, you need to develop these 5 ideas. And these 5 ideas became the Borrowed Guitars EP. And we didn't even have a band name before that. They said, do you want to go under your own name? And I said, well, not really. And they said, well, what about, when we were stuck in a jam, and we said, well, why don't we just call it Slight Diversion, because we have day jobs. So that was one way to do it. And they said, well, what do you want to call the EP while we were going to record it? And I was like, well, I don't know. At the time, I didn't have an instrument that was in tune, that would stay in tune. And Nikhil said, don't worry, I'll lend you my guitar. So the entire first EP was recorded on one guitar and our 2 voices. And it was called Borrowed Guitars because of that. And essentially, now that I've privileged enough to own instruments, I look back on that time as being incredibly fertile and fun, because it really was a brotherhood of people who wanted to make interesting music independently. And now we come full circle to the situation where Ankur has amazingly kind of held us as we've gone through this process of trying to find that spirit once more.
Well, since you said Slight Diversion, let me introduce you to Pushan Kripalani from a different angle. Pushan is a cinematographer, a writer, director. He's been on the show twice before, but albeit in a different avatar, which is why I said this
as
is
a film
his
director.
as a film director.
Yeah.
He came in, if you remember, many years ago for the movie The Threshold,
That's right.
which had Neena Gupta and Rajit Kapoor, and more recently when Deepthi Naval was in a movie called Goldfish. If you remember, he came in, he'd written that one, and I thought it was a great film.
With R.K. Lahiri, who is a wonderful
With R.K. Lahiri.
writer. And yeah, Kalki and Deepthi did an amazing job on Goldfish, and I'm very, very privileged to have been.
Yeah,
able
they
to
play
do
mother and daughter. It's a
Yeah.
daughter who comes to take care of her senior citizen
that.
mother.
That's right.
I love that. So that's Pushan, and this is the slight diversion that he is talking about. Ankur, when were you exposed to his music? Because your job is to constantly keep your antenna up and keep looking out for interesting singer-songwriters.
I mean, good question. It feels like I've been listening to his music for a long time, and I've almost forgotten where I heard his music first. But I remember when we were curating for a Spoken Fest.
2020 this was.
2020?
Yeah.
Yes. And then I'd heard his music at that point, and I felt that I'm now realizing that I have this habit of pushing him into the deep end. So at that time, I pushed him to the deep end and performing live. And he performed at the 2020 edition of Spoken Fest.
Actually, Ankur, you don't remember, but like 5 minutes after Borrowed Guitars dropped, I got a call from him, and he was like, "By the way, you're opening for me on Tuesday." I was like,
Wow.
"What?" I said, "I don't even know how to play live. Like, I didn't have that." And he goes, "Well, no, well, learn. You have 3 days. Figure it out." And he put me in front of 500 people who were his audience. And I had, mine was
I
sort of
remember that. Yeah,
shoegazing thing.
it was
Yeah.
in.
It was on in Antisocial, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of find a way to deal with these 500 people. And I didn't understand what friendship was till that moment. Him curating us at that point. And Nikhil saying, "Why are you worried? I'm with you." And an artist like Nikhil D'Souza sitting behind you, being your supporting guitar player and vocalist behind you, doing seconds for you, is an incredible feeling. And I don't remember much of it apart from rampant fear. But
now that you say it, I remember that
Yeah,
concert
yeah.
was quite amazing, and it was quite assuring to see somebody like Nikhil and Nikhil's stature to
yeah, exactly.
take the back seat, not sit in the spotlight and support another artist. You just felt, okay, there are more interesting people in
He
this
was
world.
so cool about it. He said, "Well, I haven't been a guitar player for a long time, so let me just do that."
I love it when this whole community of Indian musicians share the love.
Yeah.
I love that. And I saw that when I came in for the City Sessions showcase between Neel Adhikari, yourself, and Arijit Datta Pushan, which we will talk about.
Sure.
Now, Borrowed Guitars, that particular EP is on all streaming sites. It has Man,
Boy,
Boy,
liar.
and Liar. Man, Boy, and Liar, which is actually my favorite song off that particular EP. You should go and check it out. It's very interesting. It's a song, whatever little I make of it, lyrically. It's about this guy in a relationship, and he says, "I can be the man, I can be the boy, and the liar. All these different shades for you." And
Yeah,
which
resonant,
one-
is it?
Yeah. Which one would you want me to be?
Well, I think all people are all those things, and then they pull them out when they have to be able to continue down the road that they're going. I think that's true.
Okay, we're going to get him to do some of his older material, and by that I mean he's been kind enough to say that "Space for You," which is a Slight Diversion song, is one of my favorite Slight Diversion songs, is something that he will start off with. So can we have that? It's
Whoa.
Pushan Kripalani, aka Slight Diversion.
No pressure
with
then.
"Space for You," this single. Let's go for it.
When we were huddled by the fire on a clear night, you showed me your heart and I moved to one side. You wouldn't believe it was true, but I was making space for you. Showed up at my door in the middle of this song. You said you were in town, you weren't sure for how long, and before the night was through, I'd made space for you. I'd nothing left to feel, and my heart of stainless steel had found itself alone and trying to make a deal with the devils in charge of love, who lie with the promises of the future set in stone and sell you fantasies as real. And there's parts of me that are drenched in mistrust, tired eyes that know love from lust have seen the grays turn to blue in the space beside you. And after all this time and the books that I've read, I find I don't have a side of the bed, a secret code when it's time to leave, and that special something in which to believe. But I've found my other shoe, and I'll walk beside you. I'll walk beside you, in the space beside you. I'll walk beside you, in the space beside you, beside you, beside you.
Thing of beauty.
Thank you so much.
Thing of absolute beauty. That is something that we ought to play more of.
Why don't you then?
We have to.
Go on then.
It's what I call radio friendly.
Oh, thank you.
You can sing along with it. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
for sure. This was actually a true story, and was written for my girlfriend, who, it's a song that's really about, when you think that you can take no more people in your life, you still have to make space for people who are important and who show up at odd times, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. Okay, Ankur, city sessions. I love the concept. Explain the concept to people. And this is not your first such album release or EP release with Tiger Baby Records. There have been others in the independent music space. Talk about that, and how all of this came about.
So with Tiger Baby Records, we are bullish about pushing stories forward and trying to create narratives and trying to create conversations through music, around music. We'd done a few albums before. We did a bunch of children's albums. We feel that not many people are writing children's music in local languages. So we've written a Kashmiri album for kids. We've written a Hindi album, lullaby album, hip-hop album for kids in Hindi. So that's that. Then we've also released one dhamakedar Punjabi song, which we did recently, a few months back. City Sessions in particular is a very exciting project for us. We're trying to create a space. Like these days, most of the conversations are around AI, algorithms, numbers, and different kinds of figures and things, that popularity, all of those things. And we felt that there was some romance that is missing in the music. Everything seems very constructed when you're making songs. You are trying to make songs within a of a particular kind of length. You're trying to see what's your hook. You are trying to create certain kind of sounds. Everything's quantized. Everything is kind of wanna be perfect. So we said, let's go back to the way that people were recording music almost in the 60s. Put people together, which is the songwriter, the musician, the composer, the musicians who support the composer, the producers, the filmmakers, all of them being musicians. We put them in a kind of a workshop, kind of a room for 2-3 days, where the composer would bring in a song, and then the producers and the musicians would put in and garnish it with their talent and things that they bring in uniquely. And we play the song as a band 4 to 5 times from A to Z, and use one of the takes as is, and not try and overdub, or not try and create like how Arijit, who's one of the artists in City Sessions, put it very beautifully. He said, while making music, a lot of musicians are getting lonelier because they're making music in their studios alone in the computer. They make a beat, they send it to someone else. That person puts some groove, or like some bass on it, or some keys on it, or guitars on it, sent to a singer. Then that demo piece is sent to a lyricist. So everyone's kind of working in silos. The eventual intention of City Sessions is to create a sense of community to counter loneliness, where all of us can get together and support each other, make music together, face to face, in flesh and bones, have some exciting memories created in the smoking sections, while having food, while in between making songs, and not make it so transactional. It's just like you come into the studio, record the music and leave. So that's hopefully maybe in a few years from now, we can be a community of singer-songwriters, producers, filmmakers who come together and make music together.
So if you want to get a visual insight into what Ankur is talking about, go to Tiger Baby Records, the YouTube channel, and you'll see these lovely videos. They're actual live sessions done in studio with the producers, which is Arya Nanji, Jangir, and the bunch of musicians who are accompanying Arijit Datta, Neel Adhikari, and Slight Diversion, who are the artists who are putting out these songs. And Mali was here a week after I attended your showcase. And I was like, hey, you played on Pushan's song. And she was like, yeah, I was just around.
Yeah.
She
contributed endlessly.
It was lovely. So I love that the spirit of camaraderie of people coming together and creating this. And remember, we were the generation that grew up on the MTV Unplugged album, being different from the main album.
That's right.
So Clapton Unplugged and Nirvana Unplugged were cult albums on their own.
That's right.
And it is so wonderful to have a small little space, musicians with acoustic instruments, and just a seated audience, which has now become YouTube. So
but also, like, I feel like what you said earlier, we kind of living our childhood dreams when we hear those stories. When you hear that Sting did the intro for Dire Straits, like, how did that happen? All the collaborations that happened because you just happen to be waiting for your session while somebody else is there, and you kind of riff off each other's music. You try and make your music better than the other person's music, and at the same time appreciate it. I think it's very important for these human interactions to not fade away in the age of technology.
Very well said. Now, I urge you guys to go and check out City Sessions, the EP. It's on all streaming sites. We, of course, are playing 2 of the Slight Diversion songs that are on it. It's essentially a 6-tracker. It's called City Sessions Side A and B. Now, explain what Side A and Side B means. I do know, and I can tell all of you who are listening and watching, that each artist has 2 songs on it, and one of them qualifies as Side A and the other qualifies as Side B. Further explanation, Slight Diversion, Pushan, for example, has a Side A song and a different song which is a Side B song. Now, why A and B?
Firstly, it was a throwback to the old days. We wanted to present the song. You could drop all the songs together and you could binge listen to them. We thought, let's make it more exciting, give a throwback to old times when you would listen to some song, enjoy it, and then probably look forward to the next drop when that happens, which would be like flipping the side of the vinyl or flipping the side of the cassette and listen to it, just like, so you don't like have a button that you just flip and you go to the next song. So we wanted a period of time where you consume and really internalize one song before you discover the next song. So it all comes to the whole thing of it, what we said, in the age of AI and algorithms, we are doing a throwback to how people were recording in the 60s. You hear even in Bollywood when they would record, everyone you would get in the same room. They would start performing a song, Kishore would come and sing his part, but even after he's done, the outro has to be played perfectly and it has to be finished. There's no punch-ins. So if the tabla player messes up the last bar, then Kishore has to sing the song again. So that's what we are trying to kind of see. And what we discovered, my personal discovery in this was that the energy of the songs change when there's so much at line. When you're looking out for each other, you're hoping that everyone is perfect and helping each other, not just the singer or the songwriter. Here everyone shares the stage together.
Yeah, and in essence, Pushan, for example, needs no help in lyric writing because he's the master of the language and he does what he has to do with his own lyric writing. But I remember Neel Adhikari very pointedly, when the music was introduced to us, the City Sessions Side A, he said being a bong, his Hindi was a little tung. So he would come to you and you would polish those lyrics for him. So in that aspect, your name is on a couple of those songs for both Arijit as well as Neel.
So Neel's thought was very good. His thing was very nice. He'd written lyrics for one of the songs. I just grammatically corrected it, fixed a few genders here and there.
Yeah, with bongs you always know the cars and the keys are a problem.
Yeah, but apart from he wrote a fresh song. He wanted to write a fresh song. Didn't want to revive something that he had already written. So I wrote the lyrics for one of the songs, Naraha, for him, and it was just like, let's get together and make something exciting.
And the Raghu Ram who's worked with Arijit Datta, is he not the Rajiv and Raghu Ram?
Yeah.
Oh, one of the twin brothers.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He's actually, like, despite his image of being this hard
aggressive guy
on television.
What is it called? MTV?
Roadies.
Yeah.
He's quite a sensitive soul, and I've had a bunch of very interesting evenings with him where we've lost ourselves into deep conversations. So he ended up this is a song that he had, I think, recorded live. He used to play live with the band Airport in 2010 or something. And I used to love this song.
And Arijit was also with Airport.
Arijit was Airport.
Yeah.
So now is Airport. They took a sabbatical for a few years and now they're kind of back.
That's wonderful. So Pushan, aka Slight Diversion, has two songs. I Will Walk With You, City Session Side A, and the other one is called I Will Hold You Close Somehow. True to his track record, these are love songs, wonderful love songs. May I, sir, ask you to play I Will Walk With You for us?
Good Lord. Okay.
Or would you rather play I Will Hold You Close? Or, I mean, when I say a love song, it could be your love, it could be a heartbreak song, or it could be no matter what happens, if the world goes to shit, I will be with you.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But largely...
But explain. I love it.
Great.
I love that you're disagreeing.
So, yeah, I know. And can I just say that's really interesting to not disagree, but certainly talk to someone as erudite and fantastically well-read as yourself, and that you'd actually listen to a lyric and find a way through it, which is an original way through it. And I deeply respect that. So thank you for having us on, actually.
Thank you, my brother. So would you rather play I Will Hold You Close somehow?
I'm happy to play I Will Walk With You. Yeah. Although it is about the fragmented society that we now live in across the world. And I felt that in many ways the song is about division and the way that we
because at one point you talk about people who run nations and weapons,
all of it.
Yeah.
And the reason that is so is because when we grew up in the civics textbooks, we were all taught about tolerance.
Yeah.
And we say, well, you have to be tolerant of everybody. But I find that to be inadequate as a word. I think tolerant means that you're kind of, I understand you're wrong, but you can stay. I find acceptance to be a far better word for this time that we live in. And the song was to address that nature of what we really need to do to be a better place, to be a better planet to some extent. I don't want to make a big deal out of that idea, but I still think we should walk with each other, should we not?
Absolutely.
So this is I Will Walk With You. Right. I don't like the books you've read. Don't like the way you break your bread. I don't like that cap on your head. But I will walk with you. And I can't seem to understand why this is not your land. I don't know what they've got planned, but I will walk with you. Someone said you're not like me. You're a threat to this democracy, and they don't see what I see when I walk with you. I will 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 walk with you. past isn't what they say, it's what happens every day. We can make history today if you let me walk with you. I was afraid that I'd be heard. You made me see that it's absurd to be afraid of my own words, and so I will walk with you. These are the times of unjust men. They think they can control us when they have the guns, but we have the pens, and I will walk with you. 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 I've looked to my left and to my right, and both sides seem to blind my sight. This is my change, and this is my fight, and so I will walk with you. They pull the wool over my eyes, but I will not be fooled twice. My heart's on fire, but my brain is on ice, and I will walk with you. I will walk with you. Come on, Hrishi. I will walk with you. Come on, everybody in the room. I will walk with you. I will walk with you. Once more for fun. Ready? I will walk with you. Thank you. I will walk with you. Louder. I will walk with you. I will walk with you. Well, thank you for singing along, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thing of beauty again.
This is super kind of you. Thank you for singing.
You know, this is not a note out of place, man. And you're quite explosive when you get on the mic.
No.
I can imagine him getting on stage at Antisocial and
Well, he was quite a
You know?
atom bomb on stage.
and suddenly becoming an atom bomb.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just quiet little bear.
Explosive and
To
seated.
quote a former friend
Yeah.
of ours.
Yeah.
Still a friend of ours.
Yes, quite.
But he's somebody in his life.
That's right.
So he can be quiet and
Yeah. Bring
and
out,
cute little cuddly
bring
boy.
out all the stuff from the old cupboard. Go on.
But lovely.
Thank you.
I'm going to now talk a little bit about the other artists. I mean,
Let's.
I love the Neel, Calcutta boy Ankur. I remember the first time he came and he had done, I think, Tooth Fairy, which is a show for Netflix. He had done the music for it, and we got talking, and he was talking about how he grew up in Calcutta with rock music, and he was listening to Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and things like that, and I found that very fascinating. And with that kind of a background, he's now doing mainstream OTT, mainstream films. And for him to come on to this particular project, he's more known as a composer than he is a singer-songwriter, at least in Bombay. So did you know him from before, or, talk about that association?
I mean, I knew him from his Calcutta days. He was one of the most exciting singer-songwriters from Calcutta. He had this band called Neel and the Light Bulbs.
Oh, wow.
And they had some really fun songs. There was one song I remember, Friends in High Places.
That's good.
Really,
I can imagine what that is
yeah,
about.
a funny song in a way. And I also remember he'd shot a beautiful video of one of his songs, which is still on YouTube, where he is a night street in Calcutta. If I remember it right, it's a wet street and he's under a street light. Him and his band is standing and singing the song, and it's got such a beautiful charm. The voice, the composition, and the frame all together, they came together so nicely. And then he came to Bombay, and then he started making music here. And from what I felt, that in this whole thing of surviving and doing work, he started doing a lot of advertising and mainstream work as somebody who was scoring projects. and in that somewhere the songwriter got left behind. And I would meet him in a bunch of evenings in some open mics or somebody's house, and we would still jam, and every time I would ask him, like, you should be singing your songs, what's happening to that? He said, yeah, I'm just finishing this project and then it'll happen. And when we got an opportunity with Tiger Baby Records, he was one of the artists I had on my shortlist for a long time. Like Arijit I had on my shortlist for over 10 years. I think I had Neel on my shortlist for like at least 5 years, when I had already figured 5 years back someday I'll work with him. And I got the opportunity, and we pulled him out of his cave where he was scoring different projects.
Which is why I love having Ankur Tewari over, Pushan.
Yeah.
These stories, these nuggets, they're gold.
Can I just say that he is one of those guys, for good music, good cinema, good theatre, you need a host.
Yeah.
You need a guy who will excavate the good stuff and say, listen to this now, listen to that now, watch this now. That's him, you know. And
I mean, I'm kind of like, I get excited by music, by stories, and then I want the whole world to know about those stories, and because it just makes the world a little warmer.
Correct.
For sure. And there are like a billion songs out there, but you need someone with a roadmap, you know, and he's got it. He's got that going on.
That's really lovely. And Arijit, I remember back in the day, you guys used to hung out a lot together.
Yeah, we were hanging out again. Like,
I remember there used to be this whole clique of Daddy, of Samir Malhotra, yourself, him.
Yeah.
You know, you guys were the arty bunch. Performances at rooftops. Those were exciting days, Ankur. Yeah.
Truly, like even with Arijit, like, he's such an amazing composer. When I first heard Arijit sing at the rooftop, Il Tarazo in Juhu, my first reaction was
it one of those Daddy's nights?
Daddy's Win Song Wednesdays.
Daddy Win Song Wednesday. Samir Malhotra, if you're ever listening to this, big love to you. Ankur and myself just reminiscing about the good old days. Yeah. Continue. So you saw him there.
So when I heard Arijit for the first time singing on that rooftop, my first reaction was I was extremely jealous. I said, this is a songwriter who's so good. He's singing in Hindi and he's in my space. And it was like, as the song progressed and as the song finished, I realized I need to be friends with this guy because I can learn so much from him. And then we just started hanging out, started jamming together, making music together. We would share green rooms in festivals, or like being sharing a stage somewhere, some concerts, and exciting times. And somewhere in that thing again, Arijit took a back seat and kind of stopped playing, and I started missing him in the whole scene. And I interestingly, I called him. I had called him earlier also. I did a song with him in Coke Studio as well, where he said, I don't want to sing, I just want to compose. I still want to be in background, not in forefront. So that was one thing. But again, when City Sessions, we were conceiving it, I called him and asked him, would you be up for doing this? He said, I think I want to sing now, but I'm not sure, give me a day. And next day he called me and my heart was pounding, not knowing whether he's agreed to it or not. And he said, you know what? I said, okay, that's a fun way to start the conversation. And he said, I am fully doing this because you have no idea what happened last night. I said, what happened? And he said that when he started Airport, it was two people who started Airport, him and Vinay Lobo, his guitar player. And Vinay over the years had moved to Canada and he was making music there. And he said, when you had called me to sing, I thought that I'll do it or not do it, but I was kind of missing Vinay. And last night after you hung up, an hour later Vinay called him and he told him that he's back in Bombay. And he said, this is serendipity because it's like, I have to do it, but my only condition is that I'll do it not as Arijit, I'll do it as Airport. And that's the revival of Airport from a 10-year break. They've come back singing one of the songs that became a viral hit before viral was a positive term. And he's written a fresh song, Le Chale, which I wrote the lyrics for Le Chale, kind of capturing this essence.
All right, City Sessions, the EP, has 6 tracks, like I said. Airport, Arijit Datta have Jaane Bhi Do Na, and the other one is called Le Chale. Lyrics by Ankur Tewari for Le Chale and Raghu Ram for Jaane Biduna. Neel Adhikari has 2 songs. One is called Yaha, lyrics by Ankur Tewari and Nandini Chaudhary. And the other one is
Actually,
called...
it should be other way around because Nandini Chaudhary has written most of the words. I have just fixed some of it and made it fall into place.
Nandini Chaudhary, principal lyric writer, and co-writing Ankur Tewari. And Neel's other song with Ankur is called Na Raha. All beautiful songs. And on side B is the second Pushan Kripalani aka Slight Diversion song called I Will Hold You Close Somehow, which, let there be no doubt, is a love song. Or not?
It isn't, Hrishi. It's about loneliness. And it's about reaching out across time and space if you are lonely to find
It's
both.
all love, brother. It's all love.
He's talking about his teddy bear.
You know, yeah. It's a face that deceives, but it's
On a serious note, you were talking about the cello.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So when we were doing I Will Walk With You and this song, Arya was producing, and we both kind of called each other.
Big ups Arya Nanji,
Yeah,
producer on this, Jangir.
Absolutely.
Co-producer on
There was
this.
just, Arya and JJ were just superb, and Arya had this really stripped down, tasteful view of what these songs should be. And we got the amazing Lavin to play on it, and we both were talking about I Will Walk With You, and I said, I really like and we both went, a cello together, and I was like, that's fantastic. Then the song sort of demands it, and in comes Lavin and absolutely blows the roof off the place, and it's quite nice to have a 2025 aesthetic and have a 17th century instrument. It's just fantastic to be able to put.
You didn't have a bass on that song, did you?
No, he was the bass man. That was essentially it, and it was really incredible of Mali and him to. And Arya herself, who plays and sings beautifully.
Yeah, Mali's on the keyboards.
Yeah. She's on piano and Rhodes, I think.
Piano and Rhodes, yeah.
Yeah. And she was just wonderful. And everyone was there to serve the song. And there was a real kind of bandness about it. Slight Diversion is this band with, random criminals who come in and out of it to play. Right. And everyone just kind of gets behind the idea in a way that musicians know how to do. They know how to listen to each other in a way that serves a greater idea. It's not a place for ego. At least those rooms that Ankur built were not that. They were not spaces for ego.
And the studio is called what?
Island City.
Island City.
Best
That was
really
also
good.
one of the reasons why I called it City Sessions, because we needed a collaborator of sorts. So I felt like, usually when these kind of things happen, people put a lot of attention towards who the musicians are or who the songwriters are, but the back end is not as tight. So I needed to get a really strong support from even the people who are producing the music. So they came in as partners, and then they said that we will give us services and we will put in our time, because that's what they built the studio for.
Yeah.
Apart from doing all the commercial stuff that they're doing, they said that let's put time, energy, effort, and we got in a collaborator with Island City as producers. We got Avyakta Kapoor, who did the production design, put a design element to it, again reminiscing to the past, the aesthetic. And we got Jishnu and May's team to shoot the whole thing. They're also musicians and invested in music and independent music. So in a way, everybody who was there, they were musicians at core, and they brought in their fun vibes to the room, and these guys created magic.
So I'm going to again go back to the videos. Go to Tiger Baby Records, the YouTube channel, and you will see all these videos, these wonderful 6 videos that he was just talking about, the production design, the shooting, the aesthetic of it. Actually quite beautiful. They're within the confines of the Island City studios, but yet they have a wonderful nuance to them. And May, which is Miriam Thomas, the podcaster, keeps talking about Island City and how much I should visit that place because it's got a great energy.
You've not been?
So I've never been, man.
What the
Can you
hell?
imagine? Yeah.
We need to pull you out of this cave.
Yeah, this cave. This is my cave. This is where I am all the
Time
time.
to write a song, man.
All right.
No,
Time now for...
Rishi does have a beautiful voice.
He does, I know.
And I have an idea.
You do?
For him, which
great.
I will discuss with him later.
Well, we'll do it on the drive back and we'll figure it out.
I Will Hold You Close Somehow. Now, City Sessions Side B. I will request you, Pushan aka Slight Diversion, to play that for me. Is that possible?
It's not, because it's so much
Explain,
about...
yeah.
It's
that's
so
a good
much
thing.
about that kind of collaboration that we're talking about. I think it's developed a life of its own. I used to play it alone on the acoustic guitar, and I wrote it way back when in COVID. But I think that it now has this incredible identity of its own that contains a viola, that contains electric guitars that are very lush, that contains that Rhodes, which is such a signature sound for that song now, that I feel without those guys it would be bizarre for me to even try.
I get where you're coming from. I mean, I get that from musicians all the time. For example, I asked Miley to do semi-automatic butane.
Yeah, you see, you need
and she
that.
said, I can't
Exactly.
do that.
Yeah.
But however, I'll do something else. I mean, she did something else
I'm
which is
happy
very
to.
acoustically friendly. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. That there's some things which you don't want to
And for example, like
deviate from.
There's a whole middle section, which, I mean, not an entire middle section, but there's like a lead guitar section, which I had to play kind of on the spot, and I was put on the spot to do it as well. And it came up in that moment. The take that you see is that expression. And I think that has value, because at that moment, those guys in the room inspire you to play that way. As spare as you do, that's a second voice that's there, which I don't have with me today. And there's this extra. Of course, we could do it, but like, it's not. I feel terrible about that.
I was just thinking, I don't know if you remember, last year, World Music Day, Ehsan Nurani and you were here, and we did a wonderful session with the Archies.
Yeah.
Where these guys just brought along an acoustic and we were just singing and chatting and singing and chatting.
Fantastic.
And of course, I made them do other comedy stuff also, which I shall show you later.
Yeah.
But it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
But this is what it is, right? He builds these extraordinary rooms where people can speak together, and we play a song, but when you're playing with other people, a fourth, fifth, sixth layer of meaning emerges, and their instruments have resonance in a different way.
Sure.
It's a metaphorical resonance.
Okay, but we've got to sign off with one song because we're at the
Sure.
end of our chat today.
Sure.
Will we do Man Boy Liar?
Happy to do Learning How to Fall. Do you
Or
know
Learning
this?
How to Fall? No, I don't know that song.
Well, you don't have it, but you should.
Yeah.
Okay. This is called Learning How to Fall, and we both of us are
give
from
me
the
a-
theatre.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
And
Yes.
one of the first things you learn how to do is fall
Fall.
in the
Absolutely.
theatre. And so I use that as a sort of metaphor to be able to get up again, which is, and you have to learn how to fall in life anyway to be able
Nice.
to keep going.
Nice.
So this is called Learning How to Fall, and this is just for you, Hrishi.
Thank you, brother.
And Hrishi, after the song, will tell us whether this is radio friendly or
Oh, no.
I know. Here's a radio unfriendly song for the radio. I slipped today, thought of you again. It was a cruel thing, I lost my footing, there's no traction at all. I'm learning how to fall. When a song made us feel invincible and free, couldn't wait to hear what you had to say. The music pushed the world away, we were bouncing off the walls, learning how to fall. If you roll when you hit the ground, if you land in the rough, if you know how to do this right, it doesn't hurt as much. But I find my body knows just how the story goes, and every winter can recall every unbroken fall. And these things like autumn, leaves go where they will. We mourn the bare trees, cold from the breeze, and try and stand up tall. We're only learning how to fall. If you roll when you hit the ground, if you land in the rough, if you know how to do this right, it doesn't hurt quite as much. But I find my body knows just how the story goes. Every winter can recall every unbroken fall, and I'm learning I'm learning how to fall.
Voila! Pushan Kripalani, aka Slight Diversion. Go catch.
Can I just say it's a band and not like my name? Can I just cut in here?
No, but you didn't say Nikhil D'Souza and Kenneth Basumatari are part of all projects.
No.
For example, they're not part of this project.
That's right.
So technically, this is Pushan Kripalani, aka Slight Diversion.
That's true,
right?
but I find that
You
Mali's
agree
in the
with me.
band. Yeah, I know, that's so fast.
So I think of what he
But
said
like
before.
Mali's in the band, and Ankur's in the band, and Lavin's in the band now for those songs. And I just
For
think
those
that it's
songs.
just something we
It's
get
like
behind.
his band of criminals, as he said, who
That's
come
right.
in.
Who come in for the moment.
A loose affiliation of criminals are Slight Diversion. Yeah, for sure.
Please go check out City Sessions, side A as well as B, on all streaming sites, and of course catch the 2 Slight Diversion songs right here on 94.3 Radio 1.
94.3 Radio 1.